Sir John A. MacDonald, the first Prime Minister of Canada. Much is well known about him, yet, despite his weaknesses and strengths, there is still debate whether memorials of him should be kept up, whether we should even recognize his name on public statues. Did his weaknesses truly take away from his strengths? Well, I guess we'll have to find out. MacDonald was a man who knew how to socialize. He knew how to build alliances. These alliances ended up culminating in the B&A Act, eventually resulting in Confederation. His social demeanor usually trumped his usually inebriated self. Despite his drunkenness, he was still able to be bubbly and social. His strengths were that of his personality. He was able to entice people in and then persuade them to his side. MacDonald was a man who was often highlighted for his strengths, as previously discussed. However, his weaknesses are of some concern. As stated, he suffered from drunkenness, this leading into his marriages, into the actual parliament buildings. Sometimes he'd be so inebriated, he wouldn't be able to perform basic duties in parliament. Aside from this, MacDonald was focused on economic expansion. He was focused on a unified Canada, a Protestant Christian Canada. As a result, he often ignored people groups that were different from that of European. As a result, Indigenous communities were neglected, ignored. Institutions such as residential schools were created to assimilate. Genocide was a result. Are these deficiencies enough to take away from the man that he was? So there you have it. A brief overview of Sir John A. MacDonald's deficiencies and pluses. What's your conclusion? Well, I can tell you that everything that he has done and his party did affects us today. The economic expansion and the unification of a country truly did benefit those who were included in his vision of a Canada. The reality is, though, is that a lot of what he did, we are still facing the repercussions of. The fact that First Nations peoples did not have a voice and were ignored is still regularly dealt with today. We, as Canadians, are now addressing the shortcomings of our first governments. We cannot ignore the benefits that Sir John A. MacDonald had on Canada as an economic country. However, in his pursuit of a unified, similar country, there will always be a stain on his legacy.